I've been doing food reviews for years, and in that time, some of the biggest restaurant chains all across the world have just been disappearing. Some of these chains used to have over 500 stores when I was younger, and now some of them are all the way down to just having one store left. Well, today I'm on a mission to figure out why and see if they have the chance of being saved or if they're really gonna be gone for good. All right, well, first up, Wimpy. Wimpy was the first American burger chain to arrive in the UK. They opened in 1954, and by the 1970s, they had over 500 restaurant locations, and now they just have 61 left. Honestly, in here it feels new, it feels fresh, feels clean. It doesn't feel like a place that's been necessarily run down. All right, so they're known for their signature bendy and cheese, and it's quite literally a hot dog that's been bent, split open, and whacked in a burger bun, which I have to admit is fascinating, but we're gonna give it a go anyways. I have to be honest, on first look, I'm not loving the look of this, but we'll give it a go anyways. This for me screams American crap hot dog, but in a bun. I could never imagine going somewhere though and actively ordering this. We've struggled to get a table inside, so it's obviously a popular place. Admittedly, their clientele seems to be on a slightly older demographic, which means maybe they grew up having Wimpys. Maybe this was a really popular spot back in the day. It had over 500 locations, so it was obviously doing well at one point. Let's try a cheeseburger. Now, if you're gonna be an American fast food place, this has to be pretty good, right? Yeah. It's okay. It feels like the recipe is still stuck almost 30 years ago. Like, it's good, but maybe that's why the clientele here like it. So the story goes, this is one of the first like American diners that came over here. Now, because it was a diner and it wasn't like fast food, it kind of got caught out. The likes of Burger King came over, they were offering fast food, which was like an elevation, an evolution of the diner experience. They say that Burger King actually came over here and bought 200 Wimpy locations, essentially starting the beginning of their downfall. Right, let's try the chips here, see if they're any good. Now, my favorite chips are up there with McDonald's, which, by the way, this actually at one point used to be bigger than McDonald's in the early days. I mean, with 500 plus stores, that's so impressive. These chips are decent, but they're not, it just doesn't feel like it's at the level that maybe it once was. McDonald's, on the opposite hand, they've got over 1,300 locations in the UK alone, which is just absurd. So this feels harsh comparing it to fast food because it is more of a diner experience, but it feels like the food lends itself more to like a fast food experience. Overall, the experience is great, and I do genuinely think that if they just sorted out the food a little bit better and almost brought it into 2026, you've probably got a great chance at reviving this thing. It doesn't feel like it should be dead, that's for sure. Overall rating for Wimpy's, I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10. And honestly, most of that rating comes from the experience, the people, the vibes here. It genuinely is decent in here, but the food lets it down. So as you can probably tell by the name, Cafe Rouge, it does have a French twist to everything. So I've got chicken and chips, but they just made it sound all French and fancy. And that kind of sums up Cafe Rouge in general. Now this place had over 100, I think it was something like 125 restaurants, and we're all the way down to just 6. And only one actually exists out in the open. And that might sound weird because the other 5 are actually locked in a place called Center Parcs, which if you're not from the UK, it's kind of just like a holiday camping area. I haven't done the marketing team any favors, but we've got the garlic butter on the top that actually does look really good. The chicken looks nice and the skin looks nice and crispy. The garlic butter is definitely the main source of flavor here. Without the garlic butter, it does taste a little bit plain. Now the sad part of the story is that actually this place definitely fell victim to COVID. During that time, obviously all these restaurants shut and the parent company simply didn't have the cash to keep things going. So it went under. And that's why, like I said, we've only got 1 open in London and 5 open in a very different situation. So these locations used to be really busy because it was considered sort of like a bougie spot, but not bougie prices. And you can kind of get that a little bit from the interior. It does need a little bit of TLC. And before I give you guys my rating for this spot, I must say the next one that we're heading off to is notorious, and I can't wait to share that story with you. Can I be honest with you? Chicken's decent. The gaff in here is all right. Is it a cop-out if I give it a 7? No, I think it's okay. I guess we'll just leave it there. I'm feeling pretty mid right now. Café Rouge. Parlez-vous français? That's all I know. Oui? Huh? How do you say no in French?
No idea what you're on.
No? So this is Angus Steakhouse. This place is notorious in London. It has some incredible lore. This place is known as a bit of a tourist trap. Now, Reddit decided to prank London tourists. And what they did was, they made it sound so amazing and so good that it would rank #1 and it would send people here. And honestly, it's probably not as empty as it should be. The manager isn't a big fan of me filming here. At least that's the vibe I'm getting. We've got the peppercorn sauce here. And honestly, the steak looks pretty good. I've asked for it medium. I didn't want to go medium rare just because this might sound bad, but I don't really trust the place because I know the truth about Angus Steakhouse. Now, this place used to be really popular back in the day, essentially until steakhouses became more popular over here in the UK. You had things like Hawksmoor, which came along, a lot of really popular, oh God. Even there, just putting my fork through it, this is tough. All right, so that's medium, and I would probably agree that's probably a medium. Maybe it's slightly more medium rare, but some people would argue that it's too close to rare, but I actually think it's fine. I'm more than happy eating my meat like this. You know what? It's got a bit of like a latex aftertaste. I don't know if that's right, but the actual quality of the beef tastes okay. I feel like however they char the top of the steak is what is causing it to be almost tastes a bit burnt. There's a weird taste. It doesn't taste very meaty. Like I'm not getting beef taste here, but it's not as bad as I thought it would be. The peppercorn sauce tastes a little bit like medicine, providing flavor. I don't mind it. The problem is, there are so many amazing steakhouses in London that you really have to be above and beyond. And to be honest with you, this cut of steak alone was about 30 Great British pounds. I've chosen the fillet steak because I feel like that's what I know best. And it's genuinely just a bit of an average fillet steak. It's not terrible, but it tastes a little bit on the watery side, not got strong beef flavors. And people will argue that that's just how a fillet is, but I've had some good fillets in my time. To be fair, for the rap this place gets, it's not that bad. Like, I'm not here wanting to spit out the food as some people would make you think, but at those prices, you better be delivering a pretty good steak. Now, of course, we couldn't forget about the sides. Anytime you go to any steakhouse, the sides are just as important as the steak. That might be a hot take, but as you guys know, this place went from 30 locations down to 3. You can imagine there's definitely some financial issues that come along with that, particularly managing your money, which is why today's video is sponsored by our good friends at Revolut. Now, if you want £20 for free, make sure you sign up using my link down in the description or scan the QR code on the screen now. All you have to do is spend once and you'll get your 20 quid. Let's give this a go. I don't know how to explain it, but top 5 worst mac and cheeses I've ever had. It tastes like cleaning products. Why is it orange? What cheese have we got going on here? Revolut is much better than this mac and cheese because over 13 million people use Revolut. I'm not too sure I'd want 13 million people trying this mac and cheese. Your money is FSCS protected, and they've got loads of different budgeting tools. With Revolut, you get great saving rates paid out daily. How ideal is that? more ideal than that. So Angus Steakhouse, I think you're like 50% of the way there. So you guys can do this. We've gone 30 to 3. We can get back to 30. Maybe. I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 10. That mac and cheese might take it down to 4.5. No, I won't be that harsh because actually, I'm gonna give it a 5. If you want me to start factoring in the value, it could plummet down to like a 3 or a 4, and it still feels a bit like a tourist trap. All right, so here we have the chili tater tots. First of all, get rid of the pickles. Instantly, that meal has just become 10 times better. This place feels a lot like a American barbecue outback diner. At least that's the vibe they try to give off. And honestly, it genuinely does do that. They're known for their ribs, which we'll get into shortly. But first, let's try the tater tots. They're decent. They are swimming around in what looks like oil, but this chain actually completely shut down in 2006, as in it went to 0. Since then, they opened up this one again, and even since then, they've opened up another one. Now there's 2. Let's try this. I'm loving the kidney beans in here as well. These are literally called sloppy tater tots for a reason. They're absolutely sloppy. Now we've got the baby back ribs. Now this is what they're kind of known for here, at least that's what they say. Let's see how the ribs compare. Oh wow. That sauce is really sweet. Like really, really sweet. I think it might be one of those where I've got to get my hands a little bit messy here. Oh, that's just fallen off, which is probably a good sign. The ribs are actually surprisingly good. And you can see, oh, hello, that's just fallen off it there. It doesn't have like a really rich, meaty flavor, but the texture is really nice. I think the sauce lets them down a little bit. Is it the best rack of ribs that I've ever had? No. Has it absolutely surprised me for a place that has clearly been on the decline for long enough? Then yeah, absolutely. Now, originally, the owner of Arbuckles was mates with John Lennon. Now, I think that's a pretty good starting point. If you can get the old Beatles to rock up to your gaff, then you're in pretty good stead. I'm genuinely impressed with these. The less said about the cheesy, sloppy tater tots, the better, I think. Here we are. It's a Biscoff cheesecake. I love Biscoff and I love cheesecake and I love ice cream, but I know this is going to be so sweet and sickly. That is filthy, and I 100% should not be finishing this off, but overall, for this place, I'm probably going to give it a 7 out of 10. And the reason why is because their specialty is like the ribs, and I thought the ribs were good. It could have definitely done being a bit like more of a stickier, rich, beefier flavor. The actual texture of it kind of fell off the bone a little bit, and for that reason I feel like 7's a fair result. You can leave those little tater tots. They were a bit of a nightmare, okay? And I put my hands up, maybe I just shouldn't have ordered them. Could this be the great comeback of Arbuckles? Now we've had our Arbuckles, it's time for the final one. This place only has 1 location left. This thing might go extinct. All right, so we're looking for our spot, and never a great sign that everywhere else seems to be pretty busy. No one sat down at ours. There's 2 people that have just gone in, so fingers crossed. This place has gone from 50 locations down to this one here. I've actually eaten at Strada before. This was popular in my time. Unk was about. And I remember back in those days, I feel like I remember going there and thinking the meal was decent. You know, it was all right. So I'm here at their final location, and I'm hoping this is just good. I've got myself a carbonara here. I would say there is not much worse than a bad carbonara. So I'm actually quite glad I got this, because and if you're an Italian restaurant and you do a bad carbonara, I think you are almost always destined for failure. The texture's nice. I'm finding myself reaching for the pepper here because it is lacking a bit of flavor. Now, you're never getting anything too exotic with a carbonara, but it almost feels like they've got everything right here, but where's the flavor at, man? It's sad to see that a place like this has come almost this far from 50 places to one. Now, interesting bit of lore about this place is there's a fellow named Luke Johnson who founded this place. Now, he previously turned around Pizza Express back in the 1990s. He turned the fortunes around. He started up this gap and it was doing amazing, right? In 2006, he managed to sell it for 60 million pounds, right? Then, quite literally a year later, it sold again for double that, over double that, at 140 million pounds. And ever since then, it has just been on a tumble. Now, sadly, a major reason for that tumble was COVID, which played a big part in so many large and small businesses going under, and even Strada just surviving by the skin of their teeth. They were doing a great job in the mid-2000s when it was absolutely booming. It's time for the rating, and honestly, its carbonara is a solid 7.5. Enjoyable, nice, lacking a bit of flavor, definitely not in the upper echelon of carbonaras, but if you were swinging by, I'd absolutely say you could stop off here and get their carbonara. 7.5 seems like a fair result. Now, while Strada was my favorite, you can see that all the spots actually ended up being pretty decent. Maybe one day we'll see the return of some of these restaurants.